What we're gonna do is I'm gonna take each tool and give you a alternative tool to use that you probably have laying around the house. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I want to thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for jumping on board with Shatterproof Leather. My name is Dirt, and like I said, this is Shatterproof Leather. Our goal here is to make you a better leather artisan, and if you're not into leatherworking, that's okay. This is still the channel for you because we care about you and we want to make you smile. So let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so this video is all going to be about tools. I know that I whip out tools left and right. You guys don't know, especially if you're newer, what these tools are or what they do. I've had some requests to explain my tools and what they do. And if you're not new to leatherworking and this is something you've been doing for a long time, this may not be the video for you, but it may be entertaining, so you'll probably want to watch anyways. What we're going to do is I'm going to take each tool and give you a alternative tool to use that you probably have laying around the house. That way, if you're not wanting to invest a lot of money into leatherworking, you can just basically gather some stuff around the house and make a leather project. Guys, the first tool is an edge beveler. Now this is a #1 edge beveler, and you may be wondering why #1? Well, it's not because it's my favorite, but the number is how you tell the size. So the number starts with 0, so 0 is going to be your smallest edge beveler, and it's going to work up from there, 1, 2, 3, getting bigger. I also have a #2 here and some other sizes. The point of this tool is to carve off a small edge of leather off to kind of help round it before you bevel the edges, and that's going to make your edge come together, not mushroom out, and hold together longer and look better. Guys, this tool works great for what we use it for here at Shatterproof Leather, which is smaller leather projects. For instance, like our wallets or our shooting tabs, where we're using a thinner weight leather. I use this for 3 to 3.5 ounce leather, and it works great. I did use #2 for a while, and it took off a lot of leather and just too much, honestly. Now these tools come in various sizes, shapes, and forms. You can see my #2 looks a lot different, and it has a different design, and that design does make a difference. On the #2, it is harder to control how much leather is being taken off, whereas on this #1, you can see on the back of it, there's a groove that's going to help keep it in the corner and only take off just the teensiest little bit. Now you may be wondering, well, what if I don't want to buy an edge beveler? That's okay. Grab you a box knife of any shape, size, or form. This here is just a replaceable straight edge knife, and it works really well. Now, when you're trying to carve off the edge with a knife, you got to be extremely careful, and you want it to be a very sharp knife because you don't want to dig into leather and cut out a chunk that is too big, because that's going to make your project look bad. So take your time. That is the beauty of using an edge beveler, is it's going to save you time and be more consistent. That was the edge beveler, and it's a great tool if you have it in your toolbox, but if you don't have it, there's a good way to get around. The next tool that we're going to be talking about is another one that I use pretty much on every project, and this is a great tool. This is just a rougher, I guess. That's what I call it, at least. You can see it's got a rough pad, and what that is basically you're gonna rough up the edge on your leather where you're gonna be gluing. Now, that being said, you only need to rough up the grain side, and the grain side is gonna be the side of leather that typically is gonna be on the outside of your project. That's gonna be the side that looks a lot nicer. If you're gluing together two flesh sides, you don't typically need to rough that up. Now, if you're using, say, a chrome tan, that leather has been tanned using different chemicals, and those chemicals are set within there, and you wanna scrape all that off in order to get a good hold on the leather. I've tried it both ways, whether I scratched it or I didn't, and honestly, it makes a huge difference. You'll get a way better bond if you do scratch that leather up. Yeah, this is a scratcher or a rougher, and you don't really need one. So what you can use instead of a rougher is, say, your X-Acto knife, or if you have your box knife. I used to take the blade off of the box knife and just use the edge of it and just scrape it until it got nice and rough. You take your time and get a good rough on it. That's gonna make your product last a lot longer. The next tool has a lot of variables as well. All these tools, there's a lot of different sizes, types, shapes and forms, and this is no exception. The next one is a punch. Now this here is a round punch. This is going to be what I use for the corners, and this is a pretty small punch. This is a double O punch, and of course different companies are going to size them differently. Also have hole punches, and there's different sizes of hole punches as well. And what you would use a hole punch for is if you're wanting to set buttons or rivets. I use these punches all the time. When I'm making, say, our keychains, I put these rivets in the center of them, and that seems to be a great useful tool, is a punch. Now, you can use multiple things. They even have a rotier punch where it has different size tips, and you can swivel that and get different size holes if you want. Another thing that you can use for punching holes, you can always use a drill with a drill bit, and I use that for quite some time as well, punching holes. Even when I was doing my stitching, that's how I would punch some holes. On the round corners, what I like to use is something round. I'll just get anything that's round, say a coffee cup, and what I'll do is I'll set that on the edge, and then I'll mark around it and get a round circle, and then I'll go ahead and use my knife and cut that out, and that seems to work really well for corners. It's not as consistent or as quick, but it does work really well. When you're choosing your coffee cup in the morning and you know you're going to be doing some round corners, pick one that's got a nice sharp edge on the bottom. That way you get a better line. And here's a quick tip for you: make sure you drink all your coffee before you start using it. I may know this from experience and have ruined a few projects spilling coffee on them. So we talked about punches, and we got all of our punches out of the way, but what if you want to punch holes in a straight line? Well, that's where a wing divider comes in handy. Now this here wing divider opens and closes at different distances. Say for instance you're hand stitching and you need a good straight line to stitch down, and you need a good line to punch your holes so your stitches look straight. This is the way to go. I usually set mine to about 1/4 inch, and the cool thing is you can use this to just basically set on the edge of the leather, pull it across, and it's going to mark a really nice straight line for you. Now, you might be wondering, well, what else could you use instead of that? You guessed it, a good old kitchen fork. Now, the cool thing about kitchen forks, the fork's already set at about 1/4 inch, depending on how big of a fork you got. So what I'll usually do is I'll take and bend out one prong just a little bit, and that way I can go ahead and run that across the leather just like this wing divider and make a nice straight mark. Now the key to that is you want to make sure your edges are straight at that point, so if you have two pieces glued together, make sure you've skived them off or sanded them down to make one flush, even straight line, or else your line will get wiggly wobbly while you're trying to make a straight line, which you don't want a wiggly wobbly line if you want a straight line. See what I'm saying? So good old kitchen fork is your best friend when you're trying to make clean work in the leather industry. Okay, so the next tool, this one I just decided to throw in last minute. This is a scratch-all. Now the reason I mention this is I use this tool more than any. It's like a big needle without the little needle hole. You can use this to scratch patterns, or as you saw me scratch my line around the coffee cup. Now you can use, say, a mechanical pencil and just leave the lead pushed in. You can also use a pen. I've actually used an ink pen before and just drawn on the leather. You gotta be careful to stay in the lines, just like in kindergarten when you were drawing, you gotta stay in the lines, or else you're gonna have a mark on your leather, which you don't want. So just be careful when you are using an alternative tool other than the scratch-all. Scratch-all though, I love it. It means a lot to me. I use it all the time, and I actually have quite a few of them laying around. I always keep one in my apron right there, as you've probably noticed already, and then I have a few more laying around the shop. You can use a scratch-all to scratch all sorts of things. You can also use it to pick at things, get things out of tools. For instance, our punches. Sometimes I'll clean out the holes if some leather gets stuck in there with my scratch-all, and you can use these for just about anything. It's a great, cheap tool to have in your arsenal. If I was to suggest for you to go buy a tool today, I would probably recommend the scratch-all. These are extremely cheap. I think I might have paid $3 or $4 for this one, and I absolutely love it. It's a great shape, great size. I can throw it in my hand and be doing other things and pull it out when I need it. Scratch-all, that'd be the ticket for you for your first tool to buy for sure. I hope you guys learned something about leather working tools. If there's another specific tool you guys want to hear about or see, let me know. If you liked this video, be sure to like it, of course. And also, if you haven't watched the video where I make a wallet out of household items, I basically just gather a lot of these items that I showed you to use as alternative tools. I actually build a complete wallet with just those tools, and just to show you guys that you can do it and to give you a little guide. So check that video out up here. You won't want to miss that, of course. Another thing is I also have a mini series on my Instagram on the stories where I do what's my tool, and I basically will shoot a quick video while I'm working explaining the tool. If you guys want to see other tools, let me know and I'll probably put them on the Instagram. So go check out the Instagram, Shatterproof Leather. It's a great little tool to utilize if you're wanting to learn more about leatherworking. You can also contact me there and ask me questions if you have any questions about your projects. And of course, I'd love to see your projects, so be sure to send those my way so I can check them out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a fun one to make, and I really enjoyed going back to my roots and kind of using some oddball things as tools. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a blast making it. Remember, stay shatterproof, stitch straight. We're for you. Have a wonderful day, guys, and thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. I can't wait.